So I'm about to see Uncharted. I'm both excited to see this one and a little bit nervous. I like simple action adventure type films. I like the Uncharted games. I like the cast here. But I feel like Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland are both very miscast in their roles, and I'm nervous that that's gonna undermine the film because the characters are so pivotal to what makes the Uncharted games work. And if you get the characters wrong, then you just get kind of a generic adventure film. And that's kind of what the trailers look like. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I'm expecting to at least have a good time. I'm gonna head in and watch it, and then I'm gonna start talking. So I just got out of watching Uncharted, and for better or worse, the movie was essentially what I expected it to be. Uncharted is an adaptation of the video game franchise of the same name. To give you my background with the series, I played through all the main games for the very first time at the beginning of COVID lockdown, just binged through the entire series and loved each and every one of them because the characters just felt very fleshed out and they're fun to go on adventures with, and the games are very cinematic. Thus, there's a lot of potential to adapt this series into great adventure films. Did this movie succeed at that? I'll let you know my thoughts in just a moment. But first off, join me down below in the comment section. Let me know, what did you think about Uncharted and what's your experience with the video games? From there, let's get started with the good. And the best thing about the film is that it's a big, slick adventure film. I like adventure films where there's globe trotting and we're out trying to find some item and there's puzzles we have to work our way through, where you have a bunch of characters that can't trust each other and you're wondering who's gonna stab who in the back, how it's all gonna play out. This is just a genre that I enjoy, and this is a big, high-budget version of one of those stories with a bunch of movie stars that I like watching on the big screen. Tom Holland, of course, is a lot of fun and has a youthful energy. Mark Wahlberg has been doing this a very long time and knows how to deliver all the quips. He knows how to pull off the physicality, and of course, throwing Antonio Banderas into the mix, another solid, established actor. And so you've got a fun genre and a bunch of actors who are fun to see on screen and a budget to deliver some big, gigantic spectacle. I did see the movie in IMAX, and there's a couple of sequences in the movie that really use the larger format. In particular, the big, gigantic showdown at the end has all of these huge shots of the action taking place, and it does take advantage of the IMAX format. Now, it's only a couple of sequences, so I wouldn't say it's necessary that you need to buy tickets to see it in IMAX, but there are at least a couple of really cool sequences if you do see it in IMAX. And as an adventure film, it kind of is a non-stop string of the different types of sequences that you want in a movie like this. You have the heist elements where they're trying to grab some item in some urban setting. You have them doing relic hunting where they're working through puzzles and the clues that they have. And then you have plenty of stunt work, plenty of fights, plenty of CGI enhanced, green screen enhanced, gigantic spectacle sequences involving falling out of planes and other things like that. And so it moves at a brisk pace. It's not one of these modern blockbusters with a big, gigantic, bloated runtime where it's 2.5 hours long and has a bunch of stuff that just doesn't need to be there. No, this is a simple, straightforward story about these adventures coming together and going to try and find some things while trying to outsmart each other, taking advantage of one another with some little twists and turns all along the way. So for me, this is a movie that was entirely watchable. It was fun. It had nice action. There's some quips that make you laugh a little bit here and there. So if you like adventure films, you'll probably at least have fun with this movie. And I would guess that Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg fans will enjoy it even more so than the Uncharted audience. and that will lead us into the negatives. And the big problem here is that the Uncharted games felt a lot like basically Indiana Jones without being Indiana Jones and not having Nazis. And the thing that made them distinct was the characterization of Nathan Drake as well as Sully and their dynamic. And as soon as I played the games and saw that Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg were cast in those roles, they didn't feel like they fit those parts at all, and they didn't feel like they were the right ages, and they didn't have the right look. That was the thing I was most nervous about going into this movie, and now having seen the film, it feels like Peter Parker in a big adventure film, and Mark Wahlberg is doing his Mark Wahlberg thing, but the distinct characterizations of Nathan Drake and Sully aren't really there. There's like superficial similarities, there's things that are in the right ballpark, but it doesn't feel like they transformed into the characters from the video games. In which case, the thing that made Uncharted distinct was those characterizations, those characters. So it just kind of feels like a copy of a copy, because Uncharted the games, influenced by Indiana Jones, and then we turn a video game into a movie, but we already have Indiana Jones the movie. So this film itself, there's a line where they reference Indiana Jones, there's parts in it where they travel, and the way they visualize that, straight out of Indiana Jones. There's a diary, which is from the video games, but when you see it in a movie, we have seen that movie before. It's a fantastic film, and this feels like a copy of that. That doesn't mean it's not fun, but it is generic. It feels very reminiscent of things we've seen before because we have seen them before, and all the distinctives feel like they're missing from this. Superficially, it resembles Uncharted. It has the action beats it's supposed to have. It has the puzzle, it has the diaries, it has the characters. But beyond that, it lacks all the stuff that makes Uncharted unique and distinct from just being Indiana Jones. There's a couple other problems in here. They do some stuff with the villain situation that it just feels like they dramatically underutilized Antonio Banderas in kind of a way where you go, like, why did you bring him in? Why did you hire him if that's all you were gonna do with him and that's how he was gonna be used? Seems like you were much more interested in these other characters than him. That was a strange choice. And so that was pretty disappointing with how much he was used in the film. I had fun with it. It's entirely watchable. Kind of excited to watch it with my wife because I think she'll really enjoy it, and it's the kind of movie that just easy to put on and have some fun with. But is it the next great adventure film? Is it the greatest video game movie adaptation of all time? Is this the one that's finally a great video game adaptation? No, not really. And does it live up to the Uncharted franchise? Did they do a good enough job of really bringing this already cinematic franchise with great stories that are very cinematic to the big screen? No, it feels like we softened the entire thing. Real quick before I give you my final thoughts, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know, what did you think about Uncharted, and be sure to let me know your experience with the franchise in the past. Also, the one and only video game franchise ranking I've ever done was for Uncharted. And so, as I said earlier, I played through all of the Uncharted games at the beginning of COVID lockdown, and then I did a ranking of them. And so you can check that out right up here when this video's done. I also did a video where I ranked all the highest grossing video game movies of all time, and you can also check that out right up here when this video is over. In general, I had fun with the movie. I did enjoy the movie. I liked the cast, but as an adaptation of Uncharted, it fell short. It lost the distinctives, and thus, even as an adventure film, it felt generic. It's a genre I just pretty easily have a good time with, so I had fun with the movie, but it's not the next great adventure film, and it's not the great video game adaptation of all time. It's just an enjoyable enough movie if you're in the mood for this kind of thing. Overall, I think I'm gonna give this one a B- on the entertainment scale. It's a 7 out of 10, and this is one that you can probably wait to stream or rent from Redbox, unless you're just a gigantic fan of Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, or the Uncharted franchise. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my ranking of the Uncharted games right over there. Check out that video where I rank the highest grossing video game movies of all time. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much, and yes, my voice is about to give out. Thank you guys for watching.